Welcome back, everyone. Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever found yourself just standing there in a hardware store aisle, or maybe endlessly scrolling through tabs of technical specs online, totally paralyzed by all the options? Yeah, we've all been there. Well, this explainer is exactly what you need. Today, we're demystifying the whole headache of equipment procurement. We're going to open up the actual playbook the pros use to cut through the noise and show you how to shift this entire process from total chaos to absolute clarity. Let's get into it. To really appreciate how the pros do it, we first got to acknowledge the sheer paradox of choice we're dealing with here. I mean, imagine upgrading your facility's systems. You aren't just buying a quote-unquote heater anymore. You are navigating between standard efficiency furnaces, high-efficiency combi boilers, tankless water heaters, power vent gas heaters, and the list just keeps going. Then add in sump and ejector pumps, evaporative humidifiers, smart thermostats with a dozen different zone controls, and radon mitigation systems. The sheer volume of models and variations is literally dizzying. Without a solid system in place, trying to pick the right one is basically just a really expensive guessing game. So here is our rescue plan for today. We'll start with the paradox of choice, then move into Step 1, defining real requirements, Step 2, evaluating performance, Step 3, total cost of ownership, Step 4, planning for support, and finally, the final decision loop. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the paradox of choice, and why picking the right equipment actually matters. Look, the difference between making a good choice and a bad one is literally the difference between everything running smoothly and dealing with endless, super frustrating disruptions. So how do the experts actually cut through all that noise? Spoiler alert, they don't do it by memorizing every single spec sheet. They rely on a highly structured selection process. This whole methodology is designed specifically to match what the customer actually needs with dependable tech. Notice the focus there? It's on the requirement first, not the shiny new product. A real pro rigorously analyzes the actual job, the workflow, and the environment long before they ever even glance at a catalog. They figure out exactly what you're trying to accomplish first. And that builds right into our primary roadmap, the Insider's Playbook. Here's the 4-step professional framework. 1. Define requirements. 2. Evaluate performance. 3. Calculate TCO, which is total cost of ownership. And 4. Plan for support. It's a wonderfully simple yet incredibly effective way to tackle this.
Moving right into Step 1, define real requirements, identifying constraints and priorities.
Before you compare a single model, you absolutely have to translate your needs into hard criteria. Now, what's really interesting about the slide is how beautifully these constraints break down into 3 distinct columns. First up, physical fit. I mean, do you actually have the physical space for this thing? Does the mounting work? Is the right power even available? Next is integration needs. Is that fancy new smart thermostat or boiler actually going to talk to your existing control interfaces and piping? And third, maintenance expectations. How often does this unit need servicing? And, crucially, are the parts even available in your area? Defining these constraints upfront ensures you're solving the real problem at hand rather than just grabbing whatever looks good on the shelf. Let's shift over to Step 2, evaluate performance, which is all about assessing real-world conditions. Okay, let's contrast 2 very different realities here. On the left, we've got manufacturer specifications. We all know what these are, right? They're theoretical limits. They're basically paper promises made in some pristine laboratory that you are likely never, ever going to see in your actual facility. We've all had that salesperson promising the moon based on those numbers. But on the right, we have real-world benchmarks and pilot testing. This involves reference deployments, hands-on demos. The pros? They live heavily on this right side. Specs are a nice starting point, sure, but real-world validation is what actually gives you absolute confidence that the equipment will handle the messy day-to-day conditions your team truly faces. Now on to Step 3, total cost of ownership, or looking way beyond the initial purchase price. Think of that initial sticker price as just the tip of the iceberg. What's lurking beneath the water is your true total cost of ownership, or TCO. We're talking about the combined cost of the purchase price, the power it eats up over its entire lifespan, consumables, maintenance cycles, having spare parts ready, and just the plain old effort required for routine servicing. It is such a classic trap. You buy a bargain-priced boiler, but if replacement parts have to be shipped from overseas twice a year, your TCO is going to be massive. Factoring all of this in right from the jump saves you from nasty financial surprises and makes long-term planning so much easier. And we can't talk about this without mentioning scalability. Ask yourself, can this solution grow with your changing needs? Professionals are always looking down the road. If your needs are likely to change, maybe your operational volume is going to go up, or you're upgrading workflows, you want a solution that scales with you. You definitely don't want to be forced to restart this entire exhaustive selection process all over again.
Bringing us to step 4, plan for support, ensuring longevity and proper operation.
And this brilliantly illustrates the fact that even the absolute best equipment in the world is going to fail eventually without a rock-solid day-to-day plan. You've got to nail down your support essentials. That means clear implementation steps, thorough training for whoever is operating it, defined escalation paths for when things go sideways, solid warranty terms, and guaranteed service availability. Look, knowing exactly who you're going to call when a pump breaks at 2 a.m. is honestly just as important as buying the pump in the first place. You need to know your gear is backed out. Finally, we arrive at the final decision loop, closing the loop on your requirements. This is the iterative process where the pros verify their final choice against the original criteria. Step 1, review the unit against your initial requirements. Step 2, if it meets your targets, fits your operational constraints, and the support checks out, boom, you move forward. But step 3 is the real secret weapon here. If it doesn't perfectly meet those needs, you iterate. Professionals are never afraid to go back to the drawing board. If a piece of equipment doesn't tick every single box, you don't just force it to fit. You loop back and find the one that actually does. So the crucial point is perfectly summed up in this fantastic quote right from our source material. The right equipment is the one that works reliably in your hands, not just in a spec sheet. I mean, that really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's the central theme of this entire framework in a nutshell. Practical, battle-tested reliability absolutely always beats theoretical perfection on a piece of paper. Which leaves us with one final, pretty important question. How are you going to approach your next major equipment purchase? The next time you're staring down a dizzying catalog of heaters or pumps or smart systems, I really challenge you to ditch those old buying habits. Don't just click Add to Cart on the unit with the flashiest marketing. Use this professional framework we just walked through. Define your real constraints, evaluate the actual real-world performance, calculate that total cost of ownership, and make sure your support is locked in. That is how you turn chaos into clarity. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.